As we inch closer and closer to the unveiling of the Galaxy Z Fold 7, more and more details are beginning to come into focus. Today we're going to be talking about the dimensions of this device as well as the size of those bezels, both coming from a new set of leaks from Ice Universe, a very reputable tech tipster in particular with regard to Samsung devices. As usual for this channel, though, I'm going to jump back and give you a little bit of context. So back in February of 2025, this year, we got this article from Android Headlines that really did blow the lid off this thing. Initially, they gave us renders of what this Z Fold 7 would look like, but beyond that, they also gave us some dimensions, as you can see written down right here. Their reporting said 158.4 millimeters by 143.1 by 4.5 millimeters. This was a device that was going to be very, very similar to the Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition, with exception to that last figure there, 4.5 millimeters. It would be significantly thinner than that device. Now, strangely, they also in this article said it would sport about, maybe you would say around, an 8.2-inch inner display with a 6.5-inch outer display. Now, based on those figures here, the dimensions, I told you guys, I think like 3 days after this article was written, that seemed almost impossible. As you can see here in this graphic where I'm comparing several different folding phone sizes, what we have here is the Z Fold 7's given dimensions in green and the Oppo Find N5's given dimensions in yellow. And as you can see, the Oppo device is a little bit taller. And if we look at the top-down view, you can see that the Oppo Find N5 is also a little bit wider. It is a physically larger device. So how could the Z Fold 7 have an 8.2-inch screen when it has an 8.12-inch screen? We're going to dig into that a little bit deeper here in just a second. Now that we've thrown the inner screen size into dispute based on this article, we now need to talk about that thickness, because just a few short days ago, Ice Universe also threw that into dispute as well with their report that it would be 3.9 millimeters thick, not 4.5, and that is insanely impressive. You can see this little table that Ice Universe actually tweeted the other day. I ran it through a translation thing so that it would be in English, but we have the Z Fold 6 at 5.6 millimeters. The W25 is the special edition at 4.9 millimeters, and then the Z Fold 7 at 3.9 millimeters, making it even thinner, if true, than the Oppo Find N5. In fact, it would be the thinnest book-style folding phone on the market. Again, insanely impressive. Also, pay attention to these other dimensions, though. The length and the width are exactly the same as Android Headlines had reported. So kind of odd that they got those two dimensions correct, got the thickness completely wrong, and then I believe quite definitely got the inner screen dimensions, the size diagonal, wrong as well. We can actually drill down a little bit more with regard to that screen size with a subsequent tweet from Ice Universe, where they say the following. The Galaxy Z Fold 7's inner screen bezel is narrow. In this image here, you have the Z Fold 6, and they're pointing out that bezel. They say that it is around 1.9 millimeters, but the Z Fold 7's is going to be about 1 millimeter, so almost half the size of the Z Fold 6. Now, personally, this is not a change that I really want to see, because I am a big believer that large screens like this, folding phones, having a bezel is actually a good thing, because it gives you something to hold on to, and they're already getting to the point where you don't really have a whole lot to hold on to, and that is going to be very, very much true with the Z Fold 7. But again, we do now have the physical dimensions of this device, and we do have the size of the bezels allegedly. So we can kind of get a general idea of what this screen size is going to be. And when you add it all up, I think you're going to land somewhere slightly over 8 inches. Now, while I don't have exact measurements on the size of the bezel on the Z Fold Special Edition, which does have an 8-inch diagonal screen, you can see in this video from Sam Mobile, it's sitting next to the Z Fold 6, and they do look remarkably similar. Obviously, we're talking about millimeters, so there could be a little bit of a difference there. But if we do some very fuzzy math, and we assume that this bezel is getting about a millimeter thinner, And we look at the dimensions and we say it's getting about a millimeter larger when we're talking about the Z Fold 7. Again, we do some fuzzy math here, and we have something like a total of 3 millimeters of increase on diagonal screen size, and that would put us somewhere around 8.1 inches being the maximum I would be personally expecting for screen size on the Z Fold 7. Now, I know that we're not all going to agree on this, but to me, the idea that we're going to be getting a device like the Galaxy Z Fold 6 with an improved primary camera, with a new processor, a larger vapor chamber, it's going to be physically larger in terms of both screens. The cover display is finally going to be wider like a normal phone. The inner display is going to be a bit wider as well, which for me, someone who does a lot of split screen multitasking, sounds absolutely fantastic. It's going to be significantly thinner, putting it finally in range of some of the Chinese competitors, actually thinner than its Chinese competitors, and that means it's going to be even lighter than it already is. Theoretically, it should be even lighter. Plus, we're going to be getting, One UI 7, which I know some of you absolutely hate, but I actually really like One UI 7, and One UI 8 should be bringing along several improvements as well. These are all things that make me very, very excited about the Galaxy Z Fold 7. Now, I know there are some things that we're not excited about, right? The size of the battery, the charging, these are things that always come up in these comments. And I think that that's fair, even though the Z Fold 6 did make it through the day for me just fine. And we do have some history telling us, for instance, the S24 to the S25, the battery life improved with the battery staying the same size. We could see something very, very similar here that could kind of compensate for those larger screen sizes. I think the Fold 7's battery life is going to be basically the same as the Fold 6's, and that was fine for me. But again, I know that some of you are bummed out by that, but like I said, for me, this is a device that I am very, very excited about, even if I'm not excited about spending $1,899 on it. As usual, if you want to see all of this in a written form, as well as links to everything that you just saw in this video, check the link in the description to shanecraig.tech, where I often write handy little news stories that later become videos. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.